Right, my name's Stephen Hall. I'm standing in the local elections next Thursday on the 5th of May as a Green Socialist candidate for the Atherton ward of Wigan Metropolitan Borough Council. I'm here up opposite where I live on Spare Road. Going to explain to people a few of the reasons why maybe they should consider voting for me in the election next week. First of all, what's the main issues at this elections? Well, for some people it's a few planters, maybe a few security gates around the back to counter antisocial behaviour. But for me, the main one is and what overshadows, I think, everything at this election are the cutbacks in public spending that the government are intending to carry out over the next 5 years. What's driving these cutbacks? It's maybe no surprise to a great many of you that one of the reasons these cuts are being implemented is to basically pay off the cost of the bank bailouts and the banking crisis of 2008, which saw the banks like RBS and Bradford and Bingley run up billions in losses and basically get to a position where they threaten to bring down the entire banking system. The cost of those bailouts, 850 billion directly and about 150 billion since then in measures attempted by the last Labour government to stop us going into an even bigger recession that we would have otherwise gone into. So now in a debt of £1 trillion, the interest on that alone, £40 billion, which is more than actually we do spend currently on defence. That's what's driving the cutbacks that we're now currently facing. The need to create the money to pay that debt off as soon as possible, since you can imagine £50 billion interest is a huge amount to be paying out just for that, rather than going towards helping pensioners or young people, students get free education, just simply financing the debt, the interest on the debt that we've got. That's what's driving things. But this debt, the current budget deficit, could be paid off by other means. And it's a lie for the government to suggest that there's no other solution to what they're doing, and indeed to say that we're all in it together. We're in it together in the same way as the passengers on the Titanic were. And if you've watched the film, then you'll know when the Titanic strikes the iceberg, it's not the second and third class passengers that get off the ship afterwards and survive. Yes, it's a lie to suggest there's no alternative to what the government's doing in terms of cuts in public services, since the deficit the government currently has could be plugged by other means than the cuts. For example, the PCS union has said that were the government to clamp down on tax avoidance and evasion, for example, and make the people who've already been assessed for tax pay the money that they owe, then we could plug the deficit by a massive £120 billion a year. When you think the current deficit this year was estimated to be short of 150 billion, then obviously 120 billion is a big plug-in of that. And we could also plug the remaining amount by returning the corporation tax rates to the average European EU level, and that would plug the difference. So there is an alternative way of plugging this measures. Of course, the Tories aren't going to do that, because that would be basically making their own supporters pay for this deficit. What they much prefer to do, as you can no doubt, many of you will no doubt appreciate, is they want to make us ordinary folk foot the bill. And it's basically who foots the bill for the bank bailouts and the effects of the crisis is what this ultimate election, and in fact politics over the next few years, is going to be about. Whether we should pay for it, ordinary people, through cuts and maybe increases in ordinary taxpayers' tax, or whether we make the people responsible, namely the bankers and the people at the top of the pile who most benefit from the system, pay.